Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of my Megapark. Now, I did some final polishing while not recording. As you can see, the helicopter ride now also stops on top of the mansion here, instead of just having a lone helicopter here. So the guests now actually travel from this tower over here by helicopter to the mansion, and from the mansion they can also go back to the island with the cloning facility. Anyway, yeah, that was the final hand I will lay on this park. I could come back to this park really for ages and keep doing little things every time, but at some point it's just time to move on and make time for new projects. So, what's going to happen next? Now, in the rest of this episode, I will simply take you on a tour through all the different themed areas of the park, just so you can all see the end result, which I have spent all this time on. We're in year 181 now. That's incredible. Yeah, that's been 4-5 months. It's I've spent so much time on this park. But yeah, the support I got from you guys, all the nice replies, critiques, yeah, it just means so much to me. So thanks for that. Now, like I said, I'm going to take you on a tour through the park in this episode. I want to make another episode, probably tomorrow, in which we're going to take a ride on all of the different coasters in the park. Anyway, yeah, I think it will be nice if we just start here at the entrance, and then I'll take you through the park sort of clockwise. Okay, so here we have, of course, the entrance of the park. This entrance has stayed pretty much the same throughout all the episodes. Yeah, I think it's become pretty iconic. We have Captain Deurklink dancing around here on the entrance. Megapark used to be dancing around on this one, but he was promoted to a DJ on the beach. This bridge, actually just before this episode I changed the railing of the bridge, because I really like this combination of this fence from the mechanic team and the wooden fence posts. I think they work great together. Now here we have the building that was also changed in one of the more recent episodes, with the observation tower and the park info inside. Now, of course, here we also have the Woody. I think I built it in the second episode. It's been here for a long time, and of course, quite recently I added all these footers to it. It was it was terrible to do, but I think the result is absolutely amazing. I really like the way this looks. It's incredible. Okay, then here we have the kiddie area. So yeah, this was also made in one of the earlier episodes of the park. We have a little playground area here, some flat rides, and there's also a small roller coaster here called Happy Tree Friends. And this maze actually recently completely changed the layout of it. So now in the middle it says DKMP. Don't know if you can see it, but if you're going to take a look in the park yourself later, you can probably see it more clearly than in this video. Okay, here we have Egyptian area. It's not the biggest area in the park, but I certainly enjoyed making it. Very lush, lots of water, some of these sphinxes. It also has a few of these entrance gates. Some flat rides like this magic carpet over here. There's a 3D cinema right under this pyramid. I thought that was a cool trick. Pyramids are actually hollow on the inside, so you could also do this without cheats. And actually recently I decorated the outside some more, just to make it a little bit more colorful. I think it really helped it look a little bit nicer. And of course we have this Vekoma suspended looping coaster. It's based on the real model. I believe it's called the Shenlin model. And yeah, I really liked the way this layout looks. It's quite easy to copy, but of course the real one has a 0G rule under the chain lift, and this one goes over it. But yeah, for a recreation in Roller Coaster Lagoon 2, it's often not possible to do it 100% realistic. And I also really like the way this layout looks like this. Okay, another ride we have here is Pharaoh's Fall. It's a log flume, an indoor log flume. Well, I didn't actually decorate the inside, but as you can see, there's quite a lot of track here on the inside. Even has a little reverser, two reversers actually, and I merged them in such a way that they make a 90-degree turn. Okay, here we have a Disco ride, also one of the more recent additions. I just put one of these roto drop cars on a multi-dimension track. It gets launched and does several circuits. Yeah, it's quite simple to make, but I think it looks pretty good here. Okay, here we have of course the big Intamin accelerator called Banana Blast. I called it Banana Blast because it's yellow, or it was the other way around. I don't know. I actually put some of these booster elements, but yeah, there's actually brakes under here that I made invisible, so now it looks like these fins are used for the braking. Here, a little transfer track, and I used the stand-up trains just because they look the most like the Intamin trains. So yeah, definitely one of my favorite coasters in the park. I really like how big it is and how prominent it stands here. One thing I also really like about this coaster is how the top hat of the coaster is actually perfectly aligned with the center of the Ferris wheel. I didn't even do this on purpose, but it just works out so well. Now also in this area, well, this was Banana Blast, and all the rides in this area are named after fruits. I should probably have a handyman here. So yeah, this is what I meant with me wanting to polish every part of the park. I've already been doing so for several episodes, but yeah. Okay, this should already help a lot. So I have 140 handymen in my park, and only 2 of them are left free roaming. The rest all have a patrol area. It's crazy, and it still gets some messy here and there. Anyway, like I said, all these rides here are named after fruits. This is mini golf, is called Peach. It has more of a pink, purple-ish color. Really nice gardens here, and a gorilla walking here in the middle called Mini Golf Gorilla. Very nice name. And here we have Mini Golf Citrus. It's yeah, it has yellow and green and stuff. And a big pirate ship here in the middle. I think it also looks really nice here within these gardens. And in this area we also have this Virginia reel. Sometimes you see some guests riding it, but most of the cars actually leave empty. It's a little bit sad to see. Maybe I should lower the number of cars, but yeah, I'll just leave it like this. Now here I made these monorail cycles, and I actually made it tandem cycles, so there's always 2 of these cycles leaving right after one another. I don't know if it's realistic, but I like the way this looks. I also had some chain lift on it, just so they would travel a little bit faster. Now in this area we have these 2 dueling, what are they called, powered coasters. Again, also named after fruits. We have fruity fruit, papaya and pineapple. Both gave them their own color. And they go in opposite directions. Kinda like the upcoming ride in Efteling, Max and Moritz. So yeah, I guess this ride is sort of comparable to that. Okay, then we get to this little town area here with all these colorful buildings. This building simply has a monorail station. Here we have the building for the Steel Serpent. I actually modified the station a bit. I like it a lot more like this. I made this pattern here on the roof. I think this already makes the building look a lot more interesting. So yeah, this big Morgan hypercoaster that travels here all along the beach. In one of the more recent episodes I extended the coaster a bit to pass over the wooden roller coaster, because it felt really short without this bit. Here on the beach I made all these sunbeds, a little lighthouse in the shape of a spiral slide, or the other way around, a spiral slide in the shape of a lighthouse. Yeah, whatever you like best. There's a beach club and a little restaurant here called Copa Banana. Some extra rides. Here we have the shuttle loop of the park. I put it again in this row of colorful buildings. You can see it inside here. It's called Kaleidoscope. I think that's a cool name for a ride which has many color changes. You can also see these dolphins swimming around in front of the beach and jumping out of the water. Here's another big building. This one has a train station, again in the same style. Yeah, I like the way it has become. Here I made a grandstand, which I also made a tutorial for. This grandstand is for the stunt show, so you can see guests riding around on jet skis here. Well, I guess you have to think of these like paid actors who do a show on these jet skis, and then there's guests watching them from the grandstands here. Now the reason they will actually sit here is because there's a food shop right next to it, so the guests will look for a bench, and this grandstand is full of invisible benches, so it looks like they are sitting here and watching. I thought this was a neat trick. I think it worked out really well. So a big bridge here which I decorated with these arches. Now here's another little restaurant on the water side. Then we pass the bridge here. Now there's also an island here, but I'll get to that a bit later. But you can already see the pier here, which is used for the transport boats, which bring people to and from the island over here. I made a little kiddie drop tower here, a launch tower. And here's a little fence that I should complete. Okay, then now if we follow the path here, I made some of these arcade games, shoot the dead game, skee ball, it's a target shooting game, and here's a fortune teller. And right in between there's a small Ferris wheel here on a pier. It's really just here for for the kids, I guess, or for people who just want to look out over the water here. Right next to the beach here there's a coaster called Coast Rider. Yeah, I named it after the ride in the Knott's Berry Farm, which is also called Coast Rider. That's what the steel wild mouse in that park is called. Then here we have Bob's Burgers, and here's a little area for the Round Earth Society. Now if you're not familiar with the Round Earth Society, I made a video on them. You should look it up. It tells you a little bit more about them. But yeah, they have a big rocket here for the future event called The Shattering. and they have several rides here to prepare them for it. Here's a centrifuge. There's also a 3D cinema show called The Round Earth, and several other rides here like simulators, and of course there's this big roller coaster called Ascension. Now it's a launched roller coaster with 2 tracks. Well, actually it's one long track, but each train goes around it twice. So I've synchronized them using block brakes. So once this train passes the block brake, the other train will also be allowed to pass. And then they start dueling throughout the track. Yeah, this is one of the coasters which I am most happy with. The dueling, I think it works out really well. So yeah, that's really cool to watch. You should really watch the next episode where we take a ride on all the coasters. Okay, then here we get into the Asian area. This area here looks a bit like the Great Wall. It's elevated above the ground and has all these castle walls right next to it. Now, here we have 2 coasters right next to each other. Here's a family boomerang called, I call it Katana. It travels here around the railway and the monorail and under this suspended coaster here. Then it goes back through the track again. The suspended coaster is called Jinja, and it travels here right over these mountains. So yeah, I think the stations of these coasters, they worked quite well. I really like the way they look. If we go down here, there's a place here where guests can rent a canoe to sail around on this little lake here. Then here there's a car ride in the style of Autopia at Disneyland. So I made it 2 tracks. You can see them go next to each other here through these gardens. It's quite a big off-road section. The one at Disneyland only has a small off-road section, but I liked the way it looked, so I just extended it for more of the ride. Here's a little memorial for Amber H. She will not be forgotten. Yeah, and then if we continue on, here I made a big station for the monorail again. This is probably one of the biggest buildings in my Megapark. And here we have another Asian building with the station for the coaster. Called it Dragon Coaster. So yeah, it used to be red, but I changed the color later because we already had a red coaster with this track. So yeah, it was a bit inspired by Demonen at Tivoli, at least the first part of the coaster, and then the loop. And after that, it's just a string of inversions until it returns back to the station. Here, oh wait, I should probably first get to the island. So yeah, you can see 2 piers here. These are used to transport guests to and from the island using these transport boats. Actually, there are underground paths which connect the island to the mainland so guests don't get lost. But it looks now like they'll go through the boats. And on this island we have this pair of dueling flying coasters. So yeah, the cars travel up here, then they go throughout this track. The purple one passes through this building. The green one goes around it. Then they have these interlocking pretzel loops right above the volcano. Then they travel around this rotodrop here, and then they return back to the station. So yeah, I'm really proud of this station building. I think it worked really well. Really one of the more impressive buildings in my park, I think. So I really like these round windows which I made with these monorail trains. And of course this tower here is for the helicopter tours. Very favorite ride of many of the guests. Okay, then yeah, I'll just continue with the swamp area. So here we have this drop tower. It's one of those Intamin first generation drop towers or second generation. So they drop down and then there's a long horizontal track where the cars actually brake and where they are on their back. It's a really fun ride to build, and it's funny how I see these in many of the parks that people are showing nowadays. Okay, here we have a little train ride. So basically it goes to this area here, then it turns around, and then it goes back over the same track, then it passes through this loop, and then it returns back to the station. So yeah, I made a little loop here using some tricks to make the train go back and forth on the same track. Here we have a water coaster. So it's like one of those, yeah, there's a few of these Intamin water coasters. They have this big vertical tower with a lift where the cars move up. First, the gap here was bigger, but I added some track here in between, just so it looks less like the car is just floating upwards here. Then there's a splash section here, a big spiral, and finally here there's the water section where it loses all its speed. And of course, next to this section, there's a little viewing area here where the guests can get splashed with water. Now, if we continue on, yeah, the swamp area is very big, by the way. It's full of rides. I think it worked really well. I think the atmosphere is really nice here with all the trees and the water. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a little horse ride that I made here. So you can see these horses going around on this track and actually hit some river rapids track on it. Now normally it makes the boats rock back and forth, but it also works for other cars. So that's why you can see these horses rock back and forth here on this track. So yeah, just like the real horse riding rides. Yeah, here we have the Jungle Cruise. It's one of those river rafts rides. It just travels through this river here. It was inspired by Jungle Cruise at Disneyland. I just made sure to put many interesting scenes next to it, like this skull that looks like it's crying, pirate flag with some cannons, treasure chests. And also these swimming elephants over here. So yeah, just try to include many fun things there. Now here on the coast we have this black woody called Driftwood, and it has a haunted mansion in front. The coaster actually travels through this half-sunken ship twice, or this beached ship. Also travels around a little volcano here with something crashed inside it. I don't know what it is, but it looks like it's on fire. And in the end I also added these footers to the woody. I think it really makes it look a little bit more impressive. Now here we have one of these ghost trains in a haunted mansion. This is really a huge building, and yeah, I'm really happy with the way it looks. In one of the last episodes I also added some yellow glass behind these windows. I don't know why I didn't think of that before, because I think it looks really good. Now here we have a speedboat ride. So guests can enter a speedboat here, which races through the swamp here. Now it just follows the water here, travels under this bridge. Then here it goes next to the coaster, and here it goes very slowly, just so guests can take a good look at the loop of the coaster and maybe catch any train traveling through it for some nice interaction. After that they go fast again through the water, passing under some more bridges and then going back to the station. Now here we have the Blue Bayou. It's a huge B&M hyper coaster. So yeah, it travels all the way through this area. There's a big turnaround here, which I really like. It's like a 450-degree helix. Must be quite intense. And here there's a big turnaround where I made this evacuation stairs in the last episode. Now here we have this Arrow or Vekoma looping coaster. It's a double loop and a double corkscrew. Really very basic layout. I kind of like the colors on this one, and how it travels over this island. Okay, here we have a mountainous area and the water park. I will first go through the water park. So in the water park here we have a wave pool with a restaurant here on the side. Here's a bit of a kiddie pool with a play castle in the middle and these figurines which are spraying water at the guests. Not sure what's wrong with the orange one. And here we have a sphinx which also sprays 2 jets of water, probably from its eyes. Here we have a pair of dinghy slides which don't appear to be very popular. Just as I say that, some guests are entering the ride. By the way, I skipped over the mini railway, but it travels all the way around the lake, through the Round Earth Society base, then here on the back of the island, then through the colorful town, then all the way back to the water park. Now here in the middle we have this lazy river, so it's flanked by all these nice rocks. Guests can enjoy a relaxing ride. Some water will be sprayed on them throughout the ride. There's also these slides here in the middle, and of course this coaster going around called Roller Soaker. It's based on this coaster where guests can also spray water from the coaster on the guests below them, and they pass over all these paths, so that should be quite fun. Okay, here we have this bobsleigh coaster. Now, at first sight it might look a bit like a mess, but there's actually quite some structure in it. So first there's a gentle swinging area. Then here in the middle there's a bit of a more spirally section where it goes faster, and then it hits the brakes again, and then finally it has a section where it goes underground a few times, passing over the water here and then going back to the station. Also here in this area there's this mine train coaster. It's actually timed quite nicely now. So this train first goes on the left lift hill, then it travels through this track here on this side of the mountain. Then later it hits a set of brakes, then it travels up the other lift hill, and it does the second section backwards using this switchback track. Then finally it hits the brakes here before it returns back to the station forwards. Now, this is one of my favorite rides in the park. I think it looks really nice here in the landscape. Definitely one of the rides I'm most proud of. Now, here we have a bike rental or mountain bike rental. So these are actually the monorail cycles, so it looks a little bit weird with the wheels in front and back of the riders, but I think it works well enough as bicycles. So yeah, they get to do 2 laps on this hilly track. Now here's one of those slingshot rides. So 2 towers and this little the seats here in the middle. So you'll just have to pretend there's a bungee cords or cables from the towers to this seat. I need to repair this sign. Okay, so yeah, you have to pretend there's cables, and you can imagine how it gets launched upwards. Okay, here I made a double pendulum ride. So yeah, there's this big tower here, and there's these two cars that are suspended from them and swinging in opposite directions. And here we have a big RMC coaster. Well, if you're currently doing the RMC contest, this might serve well as an example. So yeah, the typical RMC elements, like a very steep drop. There's several inversions. And here I made an Immelmann. No, there's no existing RMCs yet with an Immelmann, but I think it's a matter of time before they make one. Oh yeah, I also made this drop tower here. It looks like the station here in the middle, but it's actually on the bottom. But I think it looks realistic enough. Yeah, that looks like the station is right here in the middle, and that it drops into the ground. Here, of course, the centerpiece of the park, the big Ferris wheel. It really is huge. It's over 50 meters high. Yeah, I think that's much better than the tiny Ferris wheel we have over here. So yeah, I think this is truly a centerpiece of the park. I'm quite happy with how it looks. Right over here, there's an area with some ruins, some temples. So we have this inverted coaster going around here. Now it drops into the ruins several times. I was sort of inspired by Black Mamba, the coaster at Phantasialand, which is also underground or close to the ground quite a lot of the time, with some inversions popping out of it. So I like how you can see it pop out of the ruins several times. And there's of course this cobra roll here right next to the path, just so the guests can get a nice view of it. And also embedded here in the rocks is this top spin over here. Now here's the huge hotel that I built. In the beginning there was a smaller hotel next to the entrance, but I demolished it to make room for the mansion with a helipad on top. Now this hotel took me 3 or 4 episodes to build. It was a huge undertaking. But in the end I'm happy with the result. So I made this little pool in front. There's also a putting course, or with like a mini golf course, but I made it look like there's the courses are bigger. The hotel is absolutely huge. I made 3 towers and connected them with apartments, and also made 2 apartment wings here on the side. And there's actually a roller coaster going around on the roof. It's quite crazy, but I really wanted to do it, so here it is. Of course, there's also this beach here, right in front of the hotel. You can also see some wildlife here. There's an eel swimming around, and several turtles are swimming around here as well. Sometimes you can also see some sharks going around. Right here there's this big launched coaster called Stampede. It gets launched from this building over here and goes over the top hat, and then there's a big impressive looking turn around here right in front of the hotel. You can see the car going around it, and then here there's a big loop, also in clear view of the people walking here. And then it returns back to the station. Now this area, I thought it was really funny. There's a big zoo here with actual animals. And I named many of them after my Patreons, of the Patreon that I recently started up. So yeah, thank you all for your support, and yeah, people who got in the mechanic tier on my Patreon, they can be found walking around here. Now there's also a chairlift going around over it. I think it's the most popular ride in the park. It has already had over 200,000 customers. That's insane. The queue is always filled, and it has 2 queues even. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with the way these stations look. They're nice and layered, and yeah, it's nice to see the queues always filled here for this ride. I think it looks quite cool watching the guests pass over these animals. Okay, here we have a lagoon with these submarines traveling around in them. Yeah, I made lots of underwater decorations here. See even an eel swimming around here. Yeah, a pirate ship underwater, some temples. There's even another sphinx here. Sadly, I couldn't get him to stay entirely under the water, but I think this works well enough. It's already at the lowest depth where it can be, so yeah, I couldn't make it any lower, sadly. Here we have this Eurofighter called Hurricane. Right out of the station it does a roll, then it gets launched here through part of the track. And then finally here it hits the brakes, then it goes up a vertical lift, then it does the other half of the track, before finally it hits the brakes here again. And here's another track piece that I have to remove. There used to be a transfer track here, but I changed that right before the episode. So instead of a big structure here, it now has one of these turntable transfer tracks, like you would normally see on the Eurofighters, on most of them at least. So I put a piece of mini golf hole right under here to make it look like it has yeah, a table to turn on, let's call it that. Alright, here we have the pirate splash boats called Pirate Cove. So guests enter the boats here. They go up the lift hill here, and then finally there's a big splash here right under the path. Also a little restaurant here right next to the water. Here we have the vertical drop coaster called Cliff Diver. So yeah, a big vertical drop here. Then in the middle of the track here it hits the brakes, and then it drops down a second time right over the water here. And I emulated this water splash with these fountains over here. And here we have a go-kart ride called dirt karting. So yeah, I just tried to make it look like a dirt track. And here there's also a tunnel where I made the track a little bit darker, just so it looks like there's a shadow over there. Now we're almost finished. Here there's a triple launch coaster. So the station is over here, and the cars here enter the launch track. They first get launched forwards, but not with enough speed to make it over the hill. Then they go around here backwards up the spike, and then here they get launched with enough speed to actually make it over the hill and through the rest of the layout, with several inversions as well, and this 0-0 right over the station. And here there's I think it's the final rides of the park. So here there's this this monster truck ride called TRex Safari. It travels throughout this area filled with dinosaurs, and also there's a little volcano here. And then the final ride of the park. Here we have Raptor River. It's a river rapids ride passing through this area here. Again, lots of dinosaurs, little buildings right next to it. I added some extra flowers and all these rocks right next to the track. Then here there's a vertical lift, and then there's a big splashdown here, kind of like the ride at Legoland. Okay, I hope you enjoyed watching this tour of the Megapark. Yeah, it's been an incredible few months. Now, tomorrow I will make an episode where we'll take a ride on all of the coasters, and after that I will release the park and I will make it available for download on my Discord server. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and I will see you again in the next one. See you later.